Awakening the giant. The Helios mining station hung in space like a silver spider, its spindly extraction arms extended into the asteroid field surrounding Ta Ceti. 217 souls lived and worked there, extracting rare minerals that powered humanity's modest interstellar expansion. They were the frontier, hardworking, honest people who had never asked for much beyond fair pay and the freedom to build something lasting. Commander Elena Reyes stood at the observation deck, watching the loading of a fresh shipment bound for Earth. 40 years old, with weather-beaten skin and eyes that had seen the birth of stars, she'd spent her entire adult life in space. To her, the mining station wasn't just an assignment, it was home. "Commander," her communications officer called from behind. "We're receiving a transmission from an unidentified vessel approaching from Sector 7. Elena frowned. Sector 7 was empty space. No scheduled shipments, no registered colonies. "Put it through." The screen flickered to life, revealing a face that made Elena's blood run cold. Not human, not even close. The creature had obsidian skin that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. 6 golden eyes arranged in a hexagonal pattern blinked independently of one another. When it spoke, its mouth didn't move. Instead, the words emerged directly in Elena's mind. "This is Overseer Krex of the Vex Dominion. Your presence in this system has been noted and deemed unacceptable. You have trespassed into territory claimed by the Firstborn. You will evacuate immediately." Elena steadied herself against the console. First contact. After centuries of searching the stars, humanity had finally encountered another intelligent species, and they wanted humans gone. "This is Commander Elena Reyes of the United Earth Alliance. We've been operating in this system for 15 years. We claim no territory beyond our station and mining rights. Perhaps we can discuss." "There is nothing to discuss. You have 1 planetary rotation to evacuate. After that, we will remove you." The communication ended abruptly. Elena stood frozen, the implications washing over her like ice water. "Get me Earth Command. Priority Alpha." But Earth Command never received her message. 6 hours later, 3 Vex warships materialized from folded space. There was no warning, no final ultimatum. The ships, black as night and shaped like barbed arrowheads, opened fire. The mining station's minimal defenses collapsed within seconds. Elena managed to get 7 people into the emergency shuttle before the main deck was breached. As they pulled away from the dying station, she watched in horror as 210 lives were extinguished in silent flashes of light and debris. "Why?" whispered Helena Kruz, the station's geologist. "We posed no threat." Elena had no answer as she piloted the shuttle toward the nearest jump point. Her only goal now was ensuring someone, anyone, made it back to Earth with the warning. The shuttle took heavy damage clearing the system. By the time they reached the Proxima Centauri relay station, only Elena remained alive, sustaining herself on emergency rations and recycled oxygen. Her final act before losing consciousness was to transmit the station's black box data along with a simple message. "They came without warning. They killed without mercy. They believe we are nothing." The message reached Earth 3 days later. Admiral Jonas Chen had expected many reactions from the United Earth Security Council: panic, perhaps, or diplomatic platitudes about peaceful resolution. What he hadn't expected was silence. 12 of the most powerful people on Earth watching the footage of the Helios mining station's destruction without a word. When Director Quan of Intelligence finally spoke, her voice was oddly calm. "Initiate Protocol Prometheus. Authorization Quan 7 Delta 9. Jonas felt his implant vibrate as clearance codes unlocked information he'd never known existed. Suddenly, his neural feed was flooded with classified files. Weapons systems, ship designs, military installations, all bearing production dates stretching back nearly 50 years. "What is this?" he managed to ask. Director Quan's eyes were steel. "Insurance. Earth has been preparing for this moment since we launched our first interstellar probe. We've hidden our true capabilities from ourselves as much as from any watching eyes. President Okafor leaned forward. Admiral Chen, you are now commanding officer of the First Fleet. You will take command of the Thermopylae battle group stationed in the Kuiper Belt facility. The Thermopylae Kuiper Belt facility. Jonas stuttered. There's nothing out there but automated research stations. A thin smile crossed the president's face. That's what everyone was meant to believe. 3 days later, Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the EFS Thermopylae, a dreadnought over 2 kilometers in length that had been built in secret inside a hollowed-out dwarf planet. Around it orbited 26 other warships, each armed with weapons that officially didn't exist. Status report, he ordered. All ships at combat readiness. Admiral, his executive officer replied. The Vex vessels have established a base of operations at Ta City. Intelligence suggests they're preparing for further expansion. Jonas nodded grimly. The Vex think we're defenseless, primitive. They judge us by our mining stations and science vessels. He looked around at the crew, men and women who until a week ago had no idea they would be humanity's first line of defense against an alien threat. Let's show them how wrong they are. The Vex had begun construction of a permanent installation in the remains of the Helios asteroid field when 5 spatial ruptures tore open the fabric of reality directly above their position. Overseer Krex observed with mild curiosity as human vessels emerged, far larger than the primitive ships his scouts had reported. Fascinating, he communicated to his subordinates. They've hidden their true technological level. A basic deception strategy. Should we engage? Asked his weapons officer. Of course, they may have better ships than expected, but they are still primitive. The Vex have ruled the stars since before their species learned to make fire. The first salvo from the Thermopylae vaporized 2 Vex cruisers before their shields could activate. The remaining Vex ships returned fire, their energy weapons carving into the human fleet's defenses. But the human ships didn't break formation. They didn't retreat. Instead, they pressed forward, absorbing damage while delivering precise counterstrikes. For the first time in his long existence, Overseer Krex felt something unfamiliar: doubt. Their technology. It shouldn't be possible, his science officer reported frantically. They're using gravitic weapons and phase shift shields. These are not primitives. Krex watched as another of his ships exploded under concentrated fire. Send a message to the Imperial fleet. Tell them we may have miscalculated. But the message never left the system. Admiral Chen had studied the black box data from Helios Station meticulously. He knew the Vex communication protocols, their shield frequencies, their attack patterns. This wasn't just revenge. It was a calculated statement. Target their command ship, Jonas ordered calmly. All batteries, fire. The Thermopylae's main cannon, a weapon developed from theoretical physics papers that had been classified the moment they were written, unleashed a beam of concentrated exotic particles. The Vex flagship's shields flared brilliant blue for an instant before collapsing entirely. The beam continued through, cutting the ship in half as though it were made of paper. In the silence that followed, Jonas broadcast on all frequencies, knowing the remaining Vex ships would receive it. This is Admiral Jonas Chen of Earth Fleet Ship Thermopylae. You came to our mining station without warning. You killed our people without provocation. You thought us weak. You were wrong. This is your only warning. Leave human space immediately, or face extinction. The surviving Vex vessels flood, jumping into folded space with such haste that one miscalculated and sheared itself apart. As the fleet secured the system, Jonas received a priority communication from Earth. Director Kwan's face appeared on his private channel, her expression grave. The Vex aren't alone, Admiral. Our deep space monitoring stations are detecting massive fleet movements across 3 sectors. Whatever you've stirred up, it's just the beginning. Jonas looked out at the stars, suddenly aware that humanity's quiet existence in the galactic community was over. Then we'd better get ready for what comes next. The storm unleashed. The news spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Humans had defeated a Vex battle group, the species that most advanced civilizations had written off as barely spacefaring had revealed technology that rivaled the oldest races. What began as confusion quickly turned to something more powerful: hope. On the aquatic world of Mirai, the tentacled Sulphoran elders gathered in their floating city temples to discuss the implications. For 6 centuries, they had paid tribute to the Vex, sacrificing resources and freedom for mere survival. If the humans could stand against them, Elder Nithila argued, her skin flashing patterns of excitement, perhaps we need not bow any longer. Similar conversations echoed across 100 worlds. Species that had lived under Vex dominion for generations began to whisper about resistance, about alliance, about freedom. The Vex response was swift and brutal. Governor Eliza Winters watched in horror as the settlement of New Anchorage burned. The Vex hadn't targeted a military installation or strategic asset. They'd chosen a civilian colony on the outer rim, home to farmers and teachers and children. Casualties? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. 8,000 confirmed dead, her aide reported. 3,000 missing. The Vex fleet responsible, 15 ships strong, still orbited the planet, as if daring Earth to respond. The message was clear. For every Vex ship destroyed, thousands of humans would pay the price. Get me Admiral Chen. Jonas appeared on her screen moments later, his face haggard from weeks without proper sleep. The First Fleet had been engaged in running battles across 3 systems as Vex reinforcements poured in. I've seen the reports, he said before she could speak. I'm already en route with the Thermopylae battle group. It's a trap, Jonas. They want to draw you in. I know, but we can't let them think targeting civilians will work. His eyes hardened. Besides, we're not coming alone. When the Thermopylae emerged from jump space above New Anchorage, it was accompanied not only by its human escort fleet, but by 7 vessels of alien design. The sleek crystalline ships of the Sulphurans, the organic-looking hulls of the Baxtry, and the massive ring-shaped dreadnoughts of the Tellarites. This is Admiral Chen to all Allied vessels. The Vex have committed an atrocity against innocent lives. Today, we answer in kind. The battle that followed would later be called the Turning of the Tide. The Vex, confident in their superior numbers, found themselves outmaneuvered by the combined tactics of 4 species, fighting with the desperation of those who had everything to lose. The Thermopylae led the charge, its advanced shields absorbing punishment that would have destroyed any other vessel. Behind it came the Sulphurans, their ships dancing through space with impossible grace, targeting Vex engines and weapons systems with precision strikes. On the bridge, Jonas watched as a new chapter of galactic history was written in fire and sacrifice. Sir, his tactical officer called out, Vex reinforcements incoming. At least 30 ships. As expected, Jonas replied. Initiate Operation Sunforge. Throughout the battle, 5 unmarked human ships had maintained position at the edge of the system. Now, they moved into a precise formation and began to emit a strange energy signature that rippled through space-time itself. Sunforge active, came the report. Ready on your command. Jonas took a deep breath. Execute. The 5 ships channeled their combined energy into a single point of space. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, reality itself seemed to tear open. From the wound in space emerged the impossible, a fragment of stellar matter, a piece of a star held in a containment field that science had said was centuries beyond human capability. The Vex reinforcements emerged from jump space directly into the artificial sun's path. 27 ships were vaporized instantly. The others, damaged and disoriented, fell easy prey to the Allied fleet. As the battle ended, the remaining Vex vessels retreated, jumping away with no regard for formation or dignity. For the first time in recorded history, the Vex had not just been defeated. They had fled in fear. The Grand Assembly Hall in Geneva had never hosted so many different species. Representatives from 27 civilizations sat in chambers hastily modified to accommodate their diverse physiologies. At the center stood Admiral Chen, now bearing the rank of fleet commander. "The Vex have controlled this sector of the galaxy for millennia," he began. "They've subjugated worlds, exploited resources, and crushed resistance wherever they found it. They ruled through fear and the belief that no one could stand against them." He paused, looking around at the gathered delegates. "That belief has been shattered. In the 8 months since the Battle of New Anchorage, the Allied fleets have liberated 17 systems. The Vex Dominion is in retreat." Elder Nephila of the Sulphurans raised a tentacle. "What the humans have not explained is how they developed such advanced technology in secret. The Stellar Forge alone represents capabilities beyond what any young species should possess." Jonas nodded, acknowledging the question that many had asked but few had dared voice directly. 200 years ago, humanity detected our first alien transmission. It wasn't directed at us. It was between Vex ships passing through our system. They didn't notice us, but we noticed them. And what we heard terrified us. He activated a hologram showing historical footage, Earth's leaders gathering in secret, as a linguist translated the intercepted Vex communication. "System survey complete. Pre-spaceflight species detected on third planet. Recommendation: standard resource extraction protocol. Note: indigenous population suitable for labor assignment. Proceed when convenient." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. "We knew then that we weren't alone, and that the universe might not be friendly," Jonas continued. "So we prepared. Every major government committed to a shadow program, building ships and weapons in secret facilities throughout our solar system, developing technologies that officially didn't exist. When we finally achieved interstellar travel, we presented a carefully crafted image to the galaxy, a young, somewhat naive species taking its first steps into space. "A deception," rumbled the Tellarite ambassador. "A survival strategy," Jonas corrected. "One that served us well when the Vex finally decided we were inconvenient." The assembly hall erupted in conversation. Some delegates outraged at the deception, others impressed by the strategy. Through it all, Jonas stood calmly, waiting for order to return. When it did, a new voice spoke, the whisper-quiet tones of the Backstreet Hive Queen, a being rarely seen outside her homeworld. "The humans remind us of an old truth," she said, her translator rendering her pheromone speech into words. "The most dangerous prey is the one that knows it is being hunted." She turned her compound eyes toward Jonas. "The question remains, now that the Vex are retreating, what kind of power will humans become? Will you rule as the Vex did, or will you help build something new?" Jonas looked out at the assembled species, some ancient and wise, others young and fierce, all watching to see what humans would do with their unexpected victory. "We don't want to rule," he said simply. "We've seen enough of empires. What we propose instead is an alliance, not of subjugation, but of mutual defense, not built on fear, but on the recognition that we are stronger together than alone." He gestured to the stars visible through the hall's transparent dome. "The Vex ruled because they convinced everyone they were invincible. We proved they weren't, but there will always be another threat, another predator. Next time, we face it together, as equals." The Great Compact was signed that day, the first truly equal alliance in galactic history. As word spread across the stars, more civilizations came forward, throwing off centuries of Vex control. The empire that had seemed eternal crumbled in months. 1 year after the destruction of Helios Station, Elena Rice stood on the bridge of the ESA's Remembrance, watching as construction drones rebuilt what had been destroyed. The new station would be larger, stronger, a symbol of humanity's resilience. "Commander," her first officer said, approaching with a datapad, "the Sulphuran delegation is requesting permission to dock. They're bringing materials for the memorial garden." Elena nodded. "Grant them clearance." As she watched the crystalline, Sulphuran ship approach, she thought about the strange path that had led here, from a desperate escape pod carrying a warning, to humanity revealing its true strength, to an alliance that had rewritten the power structure of known space. The Vex had retreated to their core systems, their aura of invincibility shattered. The species they had dominated for centuries were free to determine their own destinies. And humanity, the supposedly primitive newcomers, had emerged as architects of a new galactic order. All because the Vex had destroyed one mining station. All because they had underestimated what humans would do when pushed too far. "It's strange," Alina said quietly. "They thought us insignificant. But they never asked themselves why a species that evolved on a predator-filled death world might develop a tendency to prepare for the worst." Her first officer smiled. "Their mistake." "Yes," Alina agreed, watching as more ships, human and alien alike, gathered around the reborn station. Their last mistake. In the vastness of space, the light of cooperation began to shine brighter than the fires of war that had birthed it. Humanity had awakened as a galactic power not through conquest, but through resistance, and in doing so, had awakened something larger than themselves.